And hello and good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, good nap. I'm David Bowles, coming to you live and in person today, here on Bowles TV. BOLES.television.tv, Monday through Friday, right here, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, it's been kind of an eventful day, ugly day here in New York City. It's going to rain, I think. Cloudy skies. Acceptable 50 degrees, which is tolerable. 50 degrees for me is the line between needing a coat and not needing a coat. And the wind has to be below 9 miles per hour. Anything over 9 is very blisteringly cold where we live, because we live on a hill in Jersey City. The neighborhood is called Hilltop, so we're right at the peak. So all the wind, and then you go 2 blocks and there's no wind. But the first 2 blocks are killer. Later on today, Jana Marie and I will be attending the eye doctor, the ophthalmologist, or the English among us. And it's been about 2 years since we have gone to see the eye doctor, because of this little thing we called the coronavirus, which is now taking over China, by the way. Have you noticed? China is now on lockdown because it's out of hand again. And people in America think it's over, that it's not coming back. Take off your mask on the plane. What do you think you're doing? And the interesting sad part is, well, the good part is that we have a very good eye doctor who just over this pandemic kept renewing our prescription without seeing us in person, because we've known her for 20 years. Great! Just keep ordering our contact lenses. However, the interesting part is the difference between New York law and New Jersey law. New York versus New Jersey. We share a lot of things, and some things are not the same. If you live in New York State, you can go online to a contact lens place, do an online eye exam, and get a prescription for your contact lenses. Like that. Wonderful, right? Pandemic. Medicine. Telehealth at its very best. However, if you live in the state of New Jersey, it's not allowed by state law. If you want an eye exam, if you want to get new contact lenses, you have to go to your eye doctor, your ophthalmologist, your optometrist, and go there to get your refill on your contacts. Now, state line, one side, one law, other can't do. Go ahead, contacts, no contacts. I find it ridiculous. So, if we want to get more contacts, we have to go in person today, be seen, and get the eyes dilated, and it's a whole thing. It ruins your whole day. You're going to come back. When I was younger, they used to do reversal drops. Dilate your eyes, exam, reversal drops, your eyes go back down, and you leave. Now they're not doing that anymore. At least the eye doctors that we go to. Maybe it's a difference between New York and New Jersey. I don't know. But the New Jersey doctors don't give you reversal drops. New York doctors do. Now, I don't know if it's because of cost. They don't want to pay to reverse your pupils that are going to slowly undilate themselves over the next 6 hours. Or if it's just less of a shock to the eye to have your eyes naturally go back to normal and not reverse them through drops. I don't know. I prefer the reversal drops. And maybe if I ask for them today, they'll give them to me. But I've asked about it in the past, what the difference is, and the answer was kind of a mumble. Which makes me think they don't want me. So in the ramp up to getting ready for this live stream, I get notifications from Facebook that this friend of the show, Gordon, is commenting on one of my photos. Now, if I were smart, I would have waited to reply to Gordon so we could do it here on the live stream and everybody could be involved and we have a new conversation on Facebook. But because I'm weak, I replied and we had an 8-comment thread conversation starting at 8:30. And it was an interesting conversation. I posted this the other day. Now, when I post on social media, I write one post that goes out to all my social media on a calendar schedule, and they're all shuffled. So if you miss one day on Instagram, you can probably see it later, 3 days later on Facebook. That's just the way I do it. Some people write original content for every service they are on, which is the right, smart way to do it. But when you're a little overwhelmed and you want to keep everything fresh, relatively, on all your networks, write it once, propagate it everywhere. So this just happened to pop up on my Facebook feed. It wasn't anything intentional that I did because of our conversation yesterday about the Batman and the Riddler. And Gordon made an interesting comment. He said, this looks like the Riddler from the Batman. And it is. Looks like the Riddler. This is military outfits from World War I. And this is the mustard gas protection suit. And so Gordon and I are having a very nice comment about all of this and going back and forth. And Gordon saying that the Riddler was winter masks. And it was a wonderful conversation. I'll put the link in chat so we can go there and be involved and comment yourself if you prefer. Batman on Facebook. Well, I guess it's the Riddler, but that's okay. There's the big, long, ugly link, but you can click on it and it should take you there. And while Gordon and I are having this conversation, then I thought, well, I wonder what is going on. So I went to the Google and looked it up, and it took me right to Reddit. For anyone saying Riddler's mask is made out of duct tape, which is what I thought it was, to my eyes in the darkness and the rain, it looks like duct tape, which I think is more interesting than what they used. I guess there's saran wrap on his head first, and then this over his head to keep his hairs from being discovered with DNA. I don't know. For anyone saying the Riddler's mask is made out of duct tape, it's not. Meow. Check the comments for each item of clothing he has on. Meow, meow. Minus pants and footwear, blah. All the Reddit experts came out to play that day. And okay, so it's military thermal wear. It looks on screen like duct tape. If you don't want it to look like duct tape, make it look like something else. And this is it. These are the glasses, and people, I guess, are ordering the glasses so they can dress up like Riddler. I don't know. And as you're reading these comments, people are not just here, but comments online about the movie, people were disturbed by the Riddler because in all of the previous movies, Riddler never killed anyone directly. He did it through riddles, he did it from afar, he did it through henchmen. And seeing the Riddler club people on the back of the head with that, I guess, carpet tool was just alarming and shocking because they said that's not how the Riddler behaves. That is out of character for the Riddler. And of course the Batman people are saying, oh no, this is a new Riddler. He's not funny, he doesn't ask riddles, he sends greeting cards, and he wears glasses. So this is the interesting commentary from people on Reddit talking about blah, 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 what the Riddler's wearing, and everybody's an expert. So in real life, other than murdering people and leaving riddles behind, what is the mask for? What purpose does it give? Looks like it makes it exceptionally harder to breathe. He does sound a little like Bane. And Bane, in a Chris Nolan Batman, that was a superhero villain. Bane. For the Batman, I'm Bane. Now that was terrific, scary stuff. Gordon says relevant to the Riddler. Bum, bum, bum. We should take it. Oh, it takes us right there. I love it when that happens. Good morning. Oh, hello, Mr. Gordon. Nice to see you. Commissioner Gordon, by the way. If I had been smarter, I would have introduced it. Now, there have been Riddlers in the past that are sort of ridiculous. The Jim Carrey Riddler was just dumb. The TV series, Batman TV series, had many Riddlers. The worst was John Aston, and the best one was probably, I just forgot his name, Frank Gorshin. He was terrific. New Riddler Year 1 comic written by The Batman, Paul Dano, announced. Learn how the Riddler came to be from the mind of Edward Nashton himself. And this is from a month ago, so this is fresh. Matt Reeves' The Batman is getting another spin-off project, but this time in the form of a comic book, exploring the origins of Paul Dano's Riddler. See, this is a problem with people who love Batman and who love origin stories. That Riddler does not fit. So what do? They go back in time. Oh, we're going to go back and explain it all. And Paul Dano's writing the script himself. Okay. To me, this is making it up. Why did you just have some other guy that's not the Riddler? Why are you ruining the Riddler? Let the Riddler be the Riddler. And you want to put this mask on and do that? Not terribly interesting to me as an original Batman fan. But Paul's an interesting actor, so it'll be good to see what happens with him. Now, speaking of movies, yesterday we talked about the Batman. And for about 10 to 15 minutes, I defended Robert Pattinson as a wonderful actor. And how he was not served well by the Batman movie, and none of it was his doing or his fault. He was just fine for what they asked him to do. And we have sirens going on outside, if you can hear that. The windows are open. The fresh air is happening. And as part of my defense of Robert, I talked about The Lighthouse, which was a terrific black and white movie that he made with Willem Dafoe. And it's the two of them. It's a two-man character study. It's really fascinating and all that. Well, that's a lot of sirens. Something's up. Fire engines. And so as part of my defense of Robert Pattinson, I showed the trailer from the movie The Lighthouse. A trailer, in case you don't know, is a little clip of a movie, an advertisement, intended to be shared organically with people online to promote the movie, to make people aware of it, to foment discussion, to generate interest and anticipation. There are websites, there are streamers, there are YouTube channels that are dedicated solely, and slowly probably, to sharing trailers for movies. So after the show yesterday, I downloaded our show from Twitch, and each show is about 6 gigabytes, which is massive for a 2-hour show. And we're low quality. I mean, we're not HD yet. We're not allowed to be HD yet. On Twitch. And I upload that to YouTube, and it becomes video on demand on YouTube, where it's captioned. And I always sort of hold my breath and strangle my own throat as everything is uploaded on YouTube, because usually there's always a little something. I get a ding notice on the music. I get age restricted because I'm talking about the subway shooting in New York, and I shouldn't even say that word in case YouTube is listening, because that's not what happened today. And you usually don't know what happens until the video is uploaded, which takes maybe half an hour. And then anywhere from another half hour to 2 or 3 hours, your video is checked for content and rights infringements. So I'm uploading everything uploaded fine. I looked, it was checking. I thought, okay, it checks. And then I come back like an hour or two later just to check on YouTube. Still strangling myself for 2 hours and holding my breath for 2 hours. Because it's always a hassle when you get a note from YouTube. Oh, more silence. And I was dismayed to see that I had a claim, not a copyright strike, not a DMCA strike proper, because you get 3 of those, you're out. This was just saying, hey, YouTube, not an email, just on the video, hey. We're not paying you any money, any advertising money, for your entire 2-hour video. All of your ad revenue money is going to Warner Brothers, I believe, because you illegally used a video clip from the Lighthouse in your live stream. And my first reaction was actually laughter. A Riddler, Joker sort of forced, angry, ridiculous kind of laughter. And all I could think is, I'm promoting your movie, I'm celebrating your actors on my live stream, and instead of saying, hey, we appreciate you, old man, you're taking on my advertising money because I violated your rights by showing the trailer for your movie, and I cut off the sound. So if there was music, that would not be a violation. Copyright summary and status. The content ID claim on your video doesn't affect your channel. This is not a copyright strike, but we're taking all of your advertising revenue. Ineligible for monetization. This video cannot be monetized. So, I'm sitting there trying to figure out, what in the world do I do? There it is, the Lighthouse. What am I supposed to do now? Part of my show, when we talked about interesting things yesterday, that will have a long life. If we ever get monetized, we're not on YouTube, but maybe one day we will be. And I think they'd still put ads on your videos, but they keep the money. So I said, well, now what do I do? Okay, so I really can't claim that I have the right to own it because it's a trailer. I don't own the trailer. I didn't make the trailer. I have nothing to do with the trailer. But I'm still in trouble, and I don't like being in trouble because I thought it was good faith of me celebrating their stupid movie, which I will never do again. I'm never going to mention that movie for the rest of my life because of this. And then there was an option. It was like a minute and 10 seconds. Out of a 2-hour and a half show yesterday, a minute and 10 seconds, and they get to keep all of my money. Well, we could trim it for you, sir, old man, as YouTube. Would it be possible to edit the video and remove it? Well, there are 2 things that I've learned with YouTube. You cannot edit once it's been uploaded. And unlike every other service in the world, you cannot replace a video on YouTube with another video. You can't open, say, edit, replace this video. You can everywhere else, but not on YouTube. So what you have to do is you have to delete the whole thing and then re-upload as a whole new file, which is fine. But they did offer me to trim the video from here to here, a minute and 10 seconds, which means the whole thing would be out. And I thought, well, I kind of like that from a revenge point of view, because they're going to harass me about celebrating their movie. Well, let's just remove the whole clip, take it out. So it's a big glitch in the video on demand. So I said, okay, you trim it, YouTube, because YouTube was offering to trim it out, which they do, but not all the time. If it's like music, they won't trim, but if it's a video, something, they'll trim. So I said, okay, trim. So YouTube says, we're in process of trimming. Okay, that was yesterday around noon. And the video is still being checked for violations almost 24 hours later. So the trimming process is not something that's very seamless or fast, I guess. I don't know how they do it. But the Lighthouse will no longer be part of my life or my channel. And so I'm trying to think, okay, now this is very insightful into how YouTube works. It's not enough to cut the audio because they knew that I was using video, and it was a YouTube video. Maybe I should have, what I should have done, I guess, is downloaded the video somehow and then just like played it locally and maybe trimmed off a few seconds of it so it's not the exact same size and length of running time. And then just played it locally to see if it would fire the same thing. But when I'm downloading a video, showing a video from YouTube in my live stream, they know exactly what I'm doing, which makes it very easy to copyright strike me. Now, I don't know how they were able to figure out that I was age restricted on the subway shooting story, because all I did was talk about that and show one photograph. Gordon says, in fairness, though, it's not like the director or actors came after you. If anything, the artists are probably 500% on your side. Yeah, that's true. But and I don't show trailers because I don't want trouble. But I thought, well, if I cut the sound, the trailer should be fine, right? No, it's not fine. So I can't show another trailer for any movie because it'd be the same thing. And you don't want to risk it being the same thing. That's the problem. So I'm trying to think, well, if this was on Bing instead of YouTube, maybe I would not have been hit. If I had gone to maybe the Warner Brothers website or something and shown it there, I would not have been hit. But it's too much trouble for me to try to figure out because I really don't care that much. I'll put a link. You can go watch the trailer yourself. Because dealing with this is just a daily reckoning that tends to wreck my day. And I try to be very, very careful with licensing. At least when it comes to music. But now I know that YouTube has their tentacles in their videos as well, which immediately makes all of my show. Now, if they had said, for a minute and 10 seconds of your live stream, VOD, we're taking money for that, that's reasonable. But to strike an entire 2.5-hour show over a minute and keep all of my potential copyright money is not acceptable. That's just weird. And I don't know why Warner Brothers would do that. Do they do that? Do they do that to all live streamers? Do they do that to the movie review shows that show their clips? They take their money? I can't imagine they do, because then people wouldn't. The reason people make those videos is to earn income. And if you're reviewing movies and you have 5 trailers that you're showing and sharing, and you have 5 copyright claims against you from these studios, you get no money. Why are you doing it? Doesn't make any sense. So that was a big disappointment. Hard lesson learned, and it's still, as I'm speaking to you, unresolved. The trimming, I guess, is not going well. And if you watched the trailer, it was all ad. It was logos, it was the names of actors. It's not like it was a scene from the movie that I pulled out. It was the official trailer for the movie. And they want to take my money. It's very odd and very disappointing. But what in life isn't? And that lovely high note, we're going to take our very first blood pressure break. And we will return momentarily. And we're back live. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Well, it's so fun sometimes to watch Twitch and other channels, and Grand Theft Auto is a lot of fun to watch. And I finally figured out the most fun I have is watching, I guess, the game designers play. Like Dean Watson is a game designer. Eddie, I don't know what his last name is, also a game designer. And they play their game. And when they play the game, everybody comes up and talks to them because they know who they are. They're the devs. And they have special powers. And you watch their stream and they call up things. Give me this car. Put an ATM over there. Somebody has a big boulder that fell on their sales spot, so they have to remove the boulder. It's very interesting. And this morning there was some guy streaming very early. I believe he was in Israel. And he's the 3D developer for Grand Theft Auto. And his stream was a live stream, but not of him playing the game. And he's really a technical guy because he's complaining he only has 400 viewers and he would do a better job if he had 10,000 viewers, and people watching him said, that's a mean thing to say. He'd say, well, that's the truth of it. Somebody said, you woke me up twice. And he said, you need to sleep better. But what he was doing today for about 3 hours was designing in 3D software, Blender, a used car dealership office. And it's been open all week. It's new. It's been open. But this one little building where I guess you go in and sign the paperwork and rent has not opened yet. Well, he designed it this morning, so it's going to be open today. And it was just fascinating. And he doesn't really tell you what he's doing. He's, talking to chat. But he's in there moving this, putting a picture on the wall, resizing. Is it the texture's bad? He doesn't tell you what that means or why, but then you watch him and then he adds paint specks and wood texture to a frame. Very interesting stuff. Now that is an interesting live stream, to see the guy building the game that millions of people play a day, and then done, finished, putting on the server. Then he can change the weather, he can jump places. God mode is what we used to call it when you enabled cheats when you were a kid. So check him out. What was his name? Something 3D. Des 3D. I'll have to check. Fun. That was a fun stream. And not because he was a nice guy. He was a very annoyed guy. But very talented. He knew exactly what he was doing. And Photoshop, what an expert. He knows more about Photoshop than I'll ever know. And you click this and resize that here, and you send it there in the XML file. Oh boy, a big thing. But it was interesting to see how everything is designed and works from the inside. And it's really all, they have basic outlines of this is a box, this is an office, this is a desk. But then, when all of that's done, you have to put details on it. You have to design it so it's designed. So we've been talking a lot about superheroes lately. Spider-Man, Batman. Yesterday we talked about, you can't criticize the Batman because it's so successful. It's made so much money and none of it's fake. It's all real. And then I talked about women online, streamers selling farts in a jar for $1,000. Sells 10,000 of them in an hour. Oh, what a success. We should all be selling our farts. That's not really how it works. And we've also discussed, especially with the Tony Awards, is they try to spread out the awards to all the shows, unless you have a super blockbuster like Phantom or Chorus Line where they just win all the awards, because what can they do? But if it's a tight competition, they look at the shows that need the most help and they give them a Tony Award, so they can have on the marquee Tony Award winning for lighting design in smaller letters. Because it's advertising. That's what the Tony Awards are. All of these awards are advertising. Academy Award winner, Will Smith in The Slap. Bum, bum, bum. Well, I came across this yesterday. that just shows how sort of disingenuous and ridiculous the whole thing is. Spider-Man drops price to beat The Batman in 2 out of 3 video-on-demand charts. Now, that's interesting because for us, the Spider-Man through Apple TV was, I believe, $19 to buy. And The Batman was, I believe, $29. Almost double. But we thought we don't go to the theater, movie theater. We watch at home, so if you got to pay a little more to get a fast movie, okay. And then I found out later it was free on HBO Max. How do I know? I can't keep up with everything. It's like Sony wants to make it clear that Spider-Man No Way Home still reigns, despite the Batman debuting on HBO Max and PVOD, paid video on demand. Now, see, this is what it's all manipulation. You think, oh, it's genuine. Oh, Batman made so much more money. And Spider-Man is saying, well, hold on, hold my beer. Here I come. Bam, pow, crack. That's the sound of Spider-Man No Way Home. Sony $5.99, holding back the ascension of the Batman, $24.99 on 2 out of 3 PVOD charts. The Batman debuted a week ago, but Spider-Man held on to the #1 spot at both iTunes and Google Play, with The Batman second at both. Those sites rank by number of transactions irrespective of revenue. Okay, very interesting. At Vudu, because it was by revenue, the higher price one would win. But if they're just going by how many sales there are, well, then it makes sense to undercut your competition. It's all a game. At Vudu, which calculates by money, not individual sales, The Batman ranks #1 for the week, with Spider-Man #3. Dog from United Artists was #2, elevated by its $19.99 price. I don't even know what Dog is. There, I said it. The well-timed price drop looks like a strategic play on Sony's part. Price reduction is a normal part of VOD play, but it's unusual when a film is still thriving as PVOD. Whatever the motive, the result prevents Warner Brothers from claiming a clear victory. It's also cynical. Gordon says Spider-Man definitely had a lot more laughs, and that's something. VOD, video on demand. But PVOD is paid video on demand, right? Because there's video on demand that's free, like reruns, and then there's pay, where you gotta pay. And of the 2 movies, Spider-Man, whichever one that was, No Way Home, Multiverse, whatever it is. Well, No Way Home, I don't know. And The Batman. The superior movie was clearly Spider-Man. Acting-wise, you could see everybody. The great actors from across history. More fun movie, sillier, lots of laughs, seriousness, crying. The Batman, drudgery. And I love Batman. Batman is my favorite superhero. My favorite human superhero, and I will say favorite comic book character. Even so, Spider-Man and Batman represent apples and oranges. Sony's Spider-Man has no streaming outlet, while The Batman also debuted last Monday on HBO Max. Well, there you go. We were able to watch it because we paid for it a little bit earlier. That makes PVOD found money for Warner's and mitigates any gotcha from Sony. This Tuesday, we'll also see the PVOD of Uncharted, which is now the #2 box office theatrical release of 2022. It could take over at #1 at 2 or more sites. Uncharted. Oh, Marky Mark. Now, he hates being called Marky Mark, and I'm not calling him that to insult him, but that's how I know him. And the thing about Mark Wahlberg is when you know his history of violence and bigotry, you wonder, how does that guy get $11 million a movie? And somebody like, let's say, Will Smith is going to be blackballed for the rest of his career. Marky Mark survives. How? Because people don't know or because people don't care? It's an interesting dissection of expectation and moral reality. Now, speaking of moral reality, the more I read about this, the more it disturbs me. Gordon says, every once in a while I wonder whatever happened to the rest of the Funky Bunch, as in his former musical organization. That's a very interesting question. I don't remember any of their music. I can't remember one song, but I do remember Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Was he a singer or was it just dancing? Because I don't think he's ever had any singing since then. I know the Orlando group, the Backstreet Boys, the others, those guys could sing. They were super talented. But I guess if you call Mark Wahlberg Marky Mark, he becomes animated and some may say looks violent. I don't know. I've never met the guy. Now, Elon Musk is a bored rich guy who wants to buy toys. And his latest toy acquisition, do you not remember his hit Good Vibrations? I only know the Beach Boys version. If it's a remake, I would know the song, but Good Vibrations from Marky Mark, I have no idea. And I'm not going to look for it because YouTube will strike me if I do anything musical or video from the YouTube channel. Is it a rap song or what style of music would you call Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch? So Elon Musk has decided that he wants to have a new plaything, Twitter. And before he was even serious about buying it, he was saying he would take the headquarters of Twitter in San Francisco and make it into a homeless shelter. It is quantified as a rap song. Oh, that's interesting. Never heard it. I have no desire to hear it, which is probably not a good thing to say, but I'm not even curious to hear it. So if you're a Twitter employee and you're working in the main building and you hear Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter so he can throw you out and bring in the homeless, that's sort of the definition of a troll, of an online troll. A troll with a lot of money who wants to make what is a social network that right now pretty much belongs to the people, and he wants to take it private and control all of the thought and everything that's going on himself. Which dismays me. I admit it. I mean, the system is sort of broken. And here are some of the news articles that are coming out of this. Twitter employees do not want to work for a company that is owned by Elon Musk. Gordon says, I do not believe it is possible you were a human being alive in the United States in 1991 without hearing at least 1,500 times. Well, in 1991, I was finishing up my MFA at Columbia. I was doing 2 internships on Broadway and off Broadway, finishing my master's degree. We had no money. We were living on Cornelia Street in Lower Manhattan. We did not have a TV and we did not have a radio. So I guess that's what happened. I created my own vortex that did not include Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I should rectify it, and maybe later today my curiosity will get the better of me. Because I know all afternoon I'm not going to be able to focus on anything because my eyes are going to be undilating slowly and painfully. So I may only have the opportunity to listen. Now, if I were a Twitter employee and all the things that Elon Musk has said about my company, I wouldn't want to work for the guy either. Because he's bringing back Donald Trump. He's bringing back all those conservative, belligerent voices that have been banned, that love to go on there and start fights with people. I would be dismayed. And as a regular user, I'm sort of dismayed by it all myself too. It says it was also in an era when you couldn't pass by music stores without them blasting their latest and greatest. I don't know. I suspect you've heard it. I probably have heard it. I'm just not recognizing it. I think Tower Records was still around at that time. And that was a nice place to go. There were still places you could go in Greenwich Village that were vinyl record stores and go in there and have some fun. Not so much lately. One Twitter employee says, I feel like I'm going to throw up. Staffer told the New York Times in a direct message, I really don't want to work for a company that is owned by Elon Musk. Gordon says, that was a high point in time for Tower Records, certainly. I know, now they're all gone. It's a lost era. It's too bad. One employee tweeted they were in need of a stiff drink, while another reportedly complained of Musk supporters inside the company. The call is coming from inside the house. Elon fanboys are brain-dead mouth breathers. And we have a bunch of them at Twitter, for the record. Can't wait until he lays off half of them. Half of us. 7,000 employees. What happens to their stock options when the company's owned by a man who wants to take their company private and has tanked his other company's shares on several past occasions by tweeting stupid stuff? Employees were told stock options would convert to cash when the deal is finalized. In 3 to 6 months, employees would keep getting bonuses according to the company's vesting schedule and would receive the same benefits for a year after the deal is finalized. Oh, it's going to be a big mess. Can someone just tell me if I'm rich or fired, please? And it doesn't stop there. Oh, no. Some high-profile Twitter users say they're done with the platform after its deal with Elon Musk, but most don't appear to be going anywhere. Actress Jamila Jamil. He got Twitter. I would like this to be my last. What lies here is my last tweet. Now, he's not taking control for 6 months, so you're leaving a little soon. But I get it. Just really any excuse to show pictures of Berold. I guess that's her dog. I fear this free speech bid is going to help this hell platform reach its final form of totally lawless hate, bigotry, and misogyny. Best of luck. I agree with that. Trump is coming back. Trump says he's not coming back. Trump is coming back. And all he has to say is, my people want it. What about Truth Social? Oh, we have that too. But I'm going back on Twitter. That's going to be a nightmare. Charles Blow, very smart guy. Looks like I'm about to say goodbye to Twitter as well. I've been pulling back a bit from social media anyway. This will just be the push I need to go all the way on this app. Here's another person who says, for those who've asked, yes, I'm staying on Twitter. There's still a lot of good people working at Twitter, and we have no idea what it will look like under Elon Musk's ownership. All true. What we do know is that if all the decent people leave, it'll get bad here a whole lot faster. Well, that's going to be inevitable. Because there's a difference between being owned, collectively and being owned by one man's mind. Fisher, no friend of Elon, has already deleted his Twitter account. Boink. This account doesn't exist. So there you go. It's getting nasty, and this is kind of funny. Somebody did not go on Twitter to do this. They went on Instagram to say this. R.I.P. Twitter. Twitter, Tweety Bird. In the cage, $43 billion. And there's Elon. Is there something else? Werewolf legend. I guess that's the whole thing. And he's a cartoonist, which I think is kind of fun. Use his art to speak for him. Now, the saddest part of the whole thing is when Trump was president on Twitter, every single news network would inundate us with Donald Trump tweets. And it was maddening and nasty and horrible stuff. And they couldn't get enough. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they all retweeted this vile garbage. And somebody asked the other day, do they do that for President Biden? Do they treat President Biden the same way they treated Donald Trump? And another person said no, because Joe Biden's Twitter account is positive and beautiful and fun and nice. And who wants that on television? And I can't remember ever seeing a Joe Biden tweet on any newscast. I remember Donald Trump being everywhere. And it's a very troubling thing that is grievously disappointing to many people. But that's the double standard. So we have to remember that when it comes down to it, 2024, Donald Trump is going to be front and center of that presidential election. It's going to all be about him. Whether he's running or not, it's going to be about a Trump acolyte or Trump himself getting elected as the next president of the United States. Is Joe Biden going to run again? I don't know. I don't think Kamala Harris is a good candidate to take on the Trump people. I don't know who could beat the Trump people. I love Pete Buttigieg. I've said that many times, but I'm not sure he's interested in running right now. I think he's starting his family. He's getting his feet and toes and head wet in the muck and mire of Washington, D.C., which is also a very good thing. But who? Bernie Sanders would be a great president. He would get things. If we had Bernie as a president now, things would be done. People would be taken care of. He would find a way to make it happen. Joe Biden, maybe not so much. And it's a sad thing. Now we're taking a very brief break. Returning in a moment. Or in a minute. And we're back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES.TV. And so we were talking about Twitter and Elon Musk and meow and Tower Records. And it just made me all nostalgic for Tower, and this is what Tower looked like in Greenwich Village. There were a lot of Tower Records. Uh-oh, I clicked on the wrong button. Now what have I done? Oh no. I don't want that. Back. Here we go. And we had a playwriting teacher who was very well known, went to Yale, had a big show on Broadway called Gemini. His name is Albert Inarato. He is now dead. Not a nice fellow. Had a lot of friends, good friends with Chris Durang, Wendy Wasserstein, Stein. And he had a big Broadway hit, spent all of his money, never had another hit. And rumor on the street was that he was working at Tower Records because he was an expert in opera. So he ran their opera department for a time, which is lovely. It's a good job. But Albert didn't want anybody to know that he was working at Tower Records. So this is what it used to look like, where you'd line up outside to get concert tickets. It was just a wonderful place to go in and explore, have fun, listen to new music. Oh, this is so sad. Going out of business. 4th and Broadway. Now that's an address, right? It's just beautiful. In a beautiful building. When vinyl meant something, when you could go in and just pick your fingers through a bunch of vinyl singles and find what you wanted. Then the stupid CDs. Ugh. So, that's what it used to look like. That was a lot of fun. And we're finishing up our conversation about Twitter and what to do. And maybe Elon will just have a whole bunch of ideas that'll make the place better. But what I'm hearing is that he wants less advertising and he wants to start charging people for using Twitter at different levels, which is interesting. I hear he either wants everyone verified or no blue checkmark verified. Now, if he takes away the blue checkmark verifieds, which is what got the celebrities there in the first place, they're all going to leave. They don't want equalization or unanimity when it comes to everybody using the service. Gordon says, I saw a band called The Darkness there. Oh, hold on. You just said when vinyl meant something in the last 10 years, vinyl has done better than the 10 years before that, and in some years better than even CDs. I agree. Vinyl's wonderful. We at that time, there was only vinyl. And then the CDs came. See if I can find. I talked about this on the live stream right when we started, like 4 months ago. Let me see if I can still find it. Here we go. Proving Gordon's point, this is the Fender XMO5 Precision turntable. And this was new. It sold out, the first iteration of it. It's a turntable for playing vinyl records. $3,500! Put your money where your mouth is. And buy. Let me see, what are the other photographs here? And we looked at this in depth. It was beautiful. It's beautifully made, well balanced. The first version of it sold out. It has the belt that, like the old record players that I remember from my early days in radio, but the belts were hidden. Gordon says the lovely thing about vinyl is that, like other physical forms, it encourages you to focus on the record as a whole, as a sort of story from start to finish. Like the classic record from the Kinks. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society, one of their best records ever. I agree. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band is the whole concept. Pink Floyd, that's what they do, are concept albums. And when you break it up into streaming and you break it up into not side 1 and side 2, part 1, part 2, it changes the whole intention. And now you get people just putting out ridiculous stuff all day long, like Kanye, who releases something new every week, which is smart because that's where we are now. We're not into the one album a year anymore. Ultra tone arm, isolated asynchronous motor, $3,500. But it's from Fender, which is very interesting. They want people playing guitars. They like vinyl. That's when they made all their money. And people don't want to play guitar any longer. It's not a Hepcat thing to do. But this, I love that, the iconic tricolor sunburst finish, which is how Fender paints their guitars. So if I had a lot of vinyl and I wanted to play something, I would get this. But what do I know? It's fabulous. I'll put it in the old chat. Fender turntable. There we go. So people are saying I'm leaving. I'm quitting Twitter forever because Elon's there. And I understand the concern. No one wants to put up with a troll in chief. And go back to the bad old days of you have nasty people threatening your life. I had someone who said, I hope you get AIDS and die. It was one of my first weeks of being on Twitter. I reported it. I said, this person's wishing death upon me by this terrible disease of infection. And Twitter wrote back the next day saying that doesn't violate our terms of service. There's nothing wrong with wishing AIDS on someone and hoping they'll die. And I thought, okay, that's the rule of the game on Twitter. Anything goes. Okay. So from then on, a little bit of self-censoring. Let's just say innocuous things that won't get us in trouble with the madding crowd. And what fun is that? But I don't want to have conversation with people who are just out there to, yell at you and call you names. Well, and Gordon says, I know in the past, you've sort of said less than pleasant things about musician Jack White. Now, that was a long time ago. But there are a few living people out there now who have done as much for vinyl records out there as he has. He put his own money into a whole record production facility. Do you know that in most cases, if you are a musician or in a band and want to put your record out on vinyl, you could be waiting even as long as a year between when you submit your music and when you receive the physical product. That's all true. Music has changed. As Bob Lefsetz says, he writes about music every week. He said it's all about streaming now. That's the only thing that matters. Touring doesn't matter. CDs are no longer existent. Vinyl is a peculiarity, he says, as the music expert. It's all about streaming music. That's the only thing that matters. Now, the Jack White album that he released, I don't know enough about Jack White. I know White Stripes, and the album that I really liked and I played quite a lot was I call it the Blue Album. And then he does have some other song that he sings. Did Jack White marry his sister? Is what the thing comes up. I don't even want to know. Well, now I do want to know. Jack and Meg White got married in 96, divorced in 2000. They started the band while married, but wouldn't see any success until after the divorce. I don't think that's his sister. But what do I know? Jack White, Vinyl Productions. Let's see what Mr. Gordon sent us here. Oh, he's all blue here too. Jack White calls on the major labels to finally open vinyl pressing plants. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. The problem is people don't have record players anymore, though, today. People don't even have CD players. Janet teaches American Sign Language for 25 years, 27 years now. And you have a book, and it comes with a DVD. The DVD comes with the book. And for the last 7 years, students say, I don't have a DVD player. I can't play this media. So the textbook company is very smart, and if you buy their book, you get a code, and you can go on their website and stream the video. And that's what they do now. There's no more DVD. Gordon says it's not his sister, but he took her name because it certainly sounded better than his birth name, I guess. Well, that's interesting, too. So I feel for him, but this reminds me of the whole Neil Young thing and his Pono, a music player, which was a triangle that nobody wanted, even though it was a better sounding audio format. It didn't sell. Gordon says, riddle me this. Sorry, if nobody has record players, how did Fender sell out of that player so quickly? Well, that's an interesting question because it was very expensive. I think there are audiophiles who do like the sound of vinyl. But I think they only had like 1,000 of them, and then they sold them out, and now I think they're making more. And if you have a guitar and you're a fan of Fender, I would think that you're probably into vinyl music. And you need a record player. What is that Jack White album? Let's see. That I like quite a bit. And then he was in another band, sort of a country band, that I thought was really terrific. And he's singing and kind of leading it. What is Jack White doing now? Taking me back. If you go to Amazon, there are dozens of decent record players available. You can even stroll into Best Buy now and find records for sale. Well, that's good news. Jack White albums is what I should be looking at. Here we go. We're going to Wikipedia. The discography. Jack White, 3 bands. White Stripes, Raconteurs. That's it, the Raconteurs. I love them. They're very interesting. And Dead Weather. I've not seen that. I'm a fan of all 3, plus his solo act. He's very talented. These studio albums, Lazaretto. I have a feeling that's the one. Yeah, this one. When did this come out? 2014. This is the last Jack White album that I remember, which was a long time ago. And I thought all the songs were very strong, very interesting. So it'll be very interesting to see how all this taps out. Vinyl record sales in the U.S. increased from 21.5 million units in 2020 to 41.7 million units last year, according to Data Billboard, formerly known as Nielsen SoundScan. Gordon says one of his 2 new records that came out this year, you can even buy a special edition at Target. And what is more mainstream than something you can buy at Target? Le Target's boutique, as kids say. Well, it's good. I was raised on vinyl. Never had a good record player, though. All my friends did, but I never had a good record player. Mine was really just like a needle. The whole thing was plastic. Well, that's good. I hope vinyl makes a big, big, big comeback. So you have people on Twitter lamenting the fact that Elon is taking over. And I sort of understand it, and it does concern me. I don't know if I'm leaving Twitter or not. It's going to be 6 months of trying to find out. 6 months of hearing about it every day. And some people on Twitter saying, hey, forget Twitter, come over to my Discord server, and we'll have conversations there. which I kind of find interesting. And we now have a Discord server, which is right here, discord.gg/polls. And I have been working on that and improving it and categorizing things. We now have an official links area. We have an official area. We have a human condition area. Topics include ASL, education, vegan, politics, science, art, health, sports, and whatever else someone might want to talk about. We have a business area. We talk about Bowles books, talk about writing. We talk about Ethereum. We talk about NFT. I'm looking at it right now. And we live stream every day on Discord as we live stream on Twitch. And you can join in the voice conversation there. You can watch as Scriptly, over here, transcribes everything that I say and puts it in our live stream text channel, so you can refer to it later. Gordon says, look up the Audio Technical AT-LP60X-BK. It's a bestseller and very reasonably priced. But see, the problem with that is then you got to get that, then you have to get a pair of good speakers, and then you probably get an amplifier. Now, see, this is the thing that I don't like in chat. I can't copy this. I would have to retype that whole thing, and I don't understand why. Why can't I highlight and copy? It won't let me do it. You'll have to put a link to it, Gold. So I'm working on sculpting a place for interesting conversation that we used to have in the early days of the internet that we no longer have. And then there are people on Twitter replying to these people saying, hey, meet me on Discord, not here. And people saying, oh, no, you can't go to Discord. You have to stay on Twitter, because Twitter, you can share links. It's open. Anyone can comment. And the people who are going to Discord say, right, that's why we don't want to be here anymore. We don't want to have to deal with those nasty trolls. You come to my Discord server. We all sort of know each other. If you're new, you're vetted, you're safe. You're not going to go in there and start calling people nasty names or railing against science and technology because you think you're being poisoned by 5G and a vaccine. And I sort of agree with that. I like the idea of having a siloed, safe space where people can go and talk about things and not worry about getting attacked. Gordon says maybe it's a browser thing or a Mac thing. I can easily copy and paste from chat. I have a feeling that it's my version of the way Streamlabs is set up, where their chat window will not allow me to copy and paste. But maybe if I were looking at the Twitter chat window, I could copy and paste. Or, let's see, did Scriptly... This I can copy. From Discord, I can copy. And this is what Scriptly said that Gordon said when I read it. Okay. So it's close, but not perfect. So they said, don't go into a silo, be out in the open. Twitter links can be shared and spread and categorized and indexed. And some people are saying, that's fine, that's good. You know, I can set up some kind of bot that things that I want shared or that I share in my Discord server can then be promoted and reshared on Twitter and not the other way around. So I think it's all kind of interesting. It's going to be in for a lot of changes. And if Elon Musk decides to start charging people for Twitter, that's going to be a sort of rebellion. People will not stand for that. I don't think it's a big deal. I think people should pay. And if everyone's going to be verified and you know every single person you're speaking to is an actual person and not someone pretending to be a person, that has great value to me as well. And when we ran our blog, our comments were very strictly kept. We wanted to stay on topic. We didn't want people throwing firebombs, and a lot of people accused me of censorship. I mean, they don't understand what censorship means because that's a governmental device. Free speech, governmental device. I don't want you coming in here and calling people names and using the F word and the B word and other terrible things. Not interested in it. It's not what we want to be doing here. But it was a lot of work because at that time I had a lot of comments coming in. And now we're going to take one more very brief blood pressure break. Back in a moment. And we're back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, B-O-L-E-S, .television. And I should put the Discord link in chat, just for the record, in case people want to, hello, stop by, join. I have 6 months to get it figured out, in case Twitter dissolves and erupts. I'm not doing any of this on Facebook because Facebook is worse than Twitter. And Instagram, TikTok, no, not my thing. So we're getting ready to go to the eye doctor. And Jana Marie is getting her stuff done. And she said, oh, I see you and Gordon are talking about record players and vinyl. I grew up with record players. I loved watching just to spin around. It was hypnotic. And she said, why aren't you talking about 8-track tapes? And I said, oh, 8-track tapes? I don't even think I had an 8-track player. Because 8-track tapes were the cassette tapes of their day. And they were mainly found in cars. At least cars in the Midwest. In the 70s and 80s. You'd pop in a tape, whap, and it would start playing. And the kids today probably don't even know what an 8-track tape player looks like. Well, you can buy them on eBay. Rare condition. And this is what they look like. The home version. If I can get a picture to show. Hover to zoom. Oh, there we go. They were big and they were ugly and they were very, very noisy. But in radio, when we stopped using vinyl records, you would take a vinyl record and then copy it to a sort of cassette that looked like an 8-track tape. And you put that in there and hit the button. Now it's all digital. No more vinyl. People don't spin records anymore. But you can buy an 8-track player on eBay. And how much are they charging for that? $149. Pretty good. This. Here's another one that's part of a stereo system. Oh, $46. That one's probably not high quality. Here's a higher quality one, perhaps, selling for $275. Okay, interesting. Pioneer was a good brand at one time, then it sort of became a Treasure City brand. And they're big. Just to play a magnetic tape. Now, what does an 8-track tape look like? There, I just want the tape. And the sound was awful. A lot of hiss. But they were sort of convenient, and you could kind of throw them around in your car. If we have any images of an 8-track tape. This is what they look like. They were huge. And they would often the tape would get caught in the spindle, and you'd pull it out, and the tape would all be messed up. And if you were really good, you could either open the cassette or just use a pencil and thin it out and try to restore it. And that's what it looked like in your car. You would just pop it in, and you had to pop it, and then you slammed it in and turned it up, and it would start playing. And there was a little button you could press that would take you to the next track. It was all very wonky and sort of made to fail. So you'd have to keep buying the cassettes. And not a lot of songs on there, as I remember. This one, Van Morrison, 4 songs. I love the picture shows a Ford brand tape. Isn't that, it was funny. I noticed that myself. Contemporary, a something of contemporary something. I never had an 8-track player. In every car I've owned, it's just been a radio. Nothing ever fun, not a cassette player. And later on, they had cassette players in cars too, which were just as ridiculously awful. But this is what the inside of an 8-track tape looked like. Which looks exactly like a cart, which is what we called them in radio. That's exactly what they look like too. But better built and meant to be thrown across the room and not break. And they were thrown across the room. Usually in fits of anger, because it wouldn't play properly. This one goes straight down instead of into the dashboard, which is helpful as well. And I guess the whole idea between an 8-track tape is that you had 8 different tracks they could play. Now, I don't know if that's 8 audio tracks or if that means 8 songs. I don't know. Little River Band, Supertramp. That's a lot of space being taken up by cassettes. And I think by the time I was, a teen, we were into cassettes. Just tape cassettes, not 8-track tape cassettes. But I do remember this, where you could go in the newspaper and join the Columbia Record Club, and you could get 13 records or tapes for $1. And they would send it to you, and then the problem was you were in a subscription that you could not get out of. And they charged you full price. I believe it was every month, and they decided what music they were going to send you because it was part of Columbia Records. And you couldn't get out of the contract, and it was at that time expensive, like $25 a month for one album. And you couldn't cancel. It was all through mail. You couldn't call anybody, couldn't write a letter. You were just on your own. Oh, and this I do remember, the portable 8-track player. And the plunger on top, I'm not sure what that did. I don't know if that changed. I think that maybe changed the song. Probably, because I think that's saying track number 2. Funny. Oh, the nostalgia. Reel-to-reel players. Very important in the day, as they say. Gordon says what they didn't tell you was they weren't sending you the same records that you would find in a store. They sent you special editions that they put out themselves. Looked the same, but if you ask a record collector, not quite the same. Oh, I didn't know that. I never fell for it. But I did have a different girlfriend at the time who always, I don't know if it was a Midwest thing, would bring this to me and say, look, I signed up for this. And this was not a pyramid scheme MLM, but you sign up for it and you'll get 10 albums, cassettes, 8 tracks for $1. And I'll pick the music and you can give it to me as a gift and I'll give you $1. And it's basically getting free music. And I didn't ever go for it because I knew that the scam was that once you signed up, you could never get out of it. So yeah, I'm giving you 10 albums to buy your love. And then you go off and do your thing, and I'm stuck with this subscription for the rest of my life. But I can tell you that when you said no, it didn't go over well. They were no longer your girlfriend for very long, which was crushing at the time, but now that I look back on it, it was sort of a blessing. Who wants that kind of relationship with somebody who just wants you for the Columbia Music subscription? The largest 8-track collection in the world. Doesn't look like there are many there. But oh, what a day of nostalgia. What a day of fun. Talking about the records, making a new comeback, a resurrection. I agree the sound is warmer. It's a better experience, and I hope it's back to stay and evolve. But how do you get around the streaming problem? That's going to be an issue. Well, we had a wonderful show today. We are now preparing to go see the eye doctor, and it looks like it's going to pour rain, and the only way for us to get there really is to walk. And it's probably a 2-mile walk across 6 lanes of a highway that didn't used to be there when we lived on that side of the highway. It was only 4 lanes, and then they expanded it over a 7-year period. And now it's just high-speed, concrete, some barriers, not even a walk sign. So I guess you're not even supposed to cross the street there, even though it's this cross street. You take your life into your hands every time you go across that place, which is where it belongs, I guess. Do you have one of those awful golf umbrellas that cover the entire sidewalk? I would love to have one of those. even though they are, as you say, sort of rude. And I especially wanted one when I was teaching, when I'd have my bag and my computer, and a little umbrella doesn't cover your bag, so your bag is totally wet. And if you have a good bag, you're okay. But it's not raining yet. It's supposed to rain, according to the forecast, in 15 minutes. And maybe it'll be done by the time we leave. But getting there and being all wet and then sitting in a packed, I'm sure, waiting room for an hour is not going to be a fun time of day. But it has to be done if you're in New Jersey, because you can't get it over the phone. You have to go online like you can in New York. And then Jana has another meeting, so she has to run around and spin back and get here before I get here, because when I go, I get 3 tests. They put laser in my eyes. I have to click a thing to things that are popping out, pre-glaucoma, flashers and floaters. I'm going to be there all afternoon. They see her, hello, goodbye, go. So she's going to leave as fast as she can, which makes me a little lonely, but I'll be all right. And the blood pressure, too. They say the first place that you're going to see if you really have a problem with your blood pressure is in the back of your eyes, in the teeny tiny, small, little blood vessels in your eye. They say it's usually your ophthalmologist who breaks the news to people, hey, get your blood pressure checked. And since I've known that for the last 15 years, I always bring it up, and so far, it's all good. So far, today could be different, we don't know. But if I get rained on coming home, I don't care. It's the being rained on the way. And we don't have any umbrella that really protects you from the rain, because here the rain tends not to go this way, but this way. So you can kind of point your umbrella this way, and it's a big mess. So if you're so inclined, visit us on our Discord server, discord.gg/BOLES. Make improvements, make suggestions. We're here to create an interesting experience. You can email me if you have any questions, david@bowles.tv. You can find us on Facebook, BOLES, on Twitter. For now, we're at David Bowles with a super follow. On Instagram, we are Bowles Books. On TikTok, we are Bowles TV. So until tomorrow, at 9 a.m. Eastern, I hope you have a wonderful day, a good nap, and a terrific evening. And when ye shall awaken, may you be filled with joyousness in your human soul. Thank you for being here, Gordon. It's been a wonderful 2-hour conversation with my old pal. And we started it early at 8:30 on Facebook. That was fun. So, with luck on my side, I will see you tomorrow. Take care and be well.